I want Angela, Pamela, Cassandra, and Rita.
Do you have a song that immediately transports you to a specific location in your memory? I hear that song and I immediately think of awkward middle school dances. They were called bold dances. They were on like Friday nights once a month, and they were like to keep the kids off the streets, come and have awkward dance time with people. And distinctly remember that Mambo Number 5 was like a banger at the time.
Yeah, so many of those early 90s songs bring me back coming home from maybe late elementary school, early middle school, and watching TRL.
Oh, yeah.
Every once in a while, like Korn or Limp Bizkit will pop out of whatever I'm listening to for some reason. And I'm like, oh my God, this just, Carson Daly back in the day was just, oh man, that was something.
Weren't you like a big Korn, Slipknot?
No, I mean, I dabbled, but I wasn't like a big, I wouldn't call myself a big.
You never got the tattoo. You thought about it.
I didn't. Freakin' Unleashed is a good song. I mean, it's not a good song, but it's an interesting song.
There's some people that will fight you and say, like, yes, it is.
Yeah. Well, the breakdown at the end is kind of fun. Come on. It was a good music video, too, that bullet thing. It was fun.
No idea what you're talking about. Speaking of music videos, though, the Thong Song music video made a deep impression on me as a young man. Yeah, absolutely. That one transports
Joel entering the chat as that guy. Way to go.
What?
What about the Thong Song?
Well, we're talking about like early mid 90s bops, and like, how do you not talk about the Thong Song?
Sure. Similar memory transportation. If Mambo Number 5 was the bold dance for me, the Thong Song was Roller Kingdom.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's pretty risque for the local roller rink to be.
It's where the teens went before they can go anywhere else.
Really? Okay, yeah, fair.
Parents felt comfortable dropping off their teens at Roller Kingdom. What could possibly go wrong in there? A lot of things. A lot of things can go wrong in there.
Ooh, the Thong Song.
God, what the hell happened at your Roller Kingdom, dude?
Spicy.
Yo, what happens at Roller Kingdom stays at Roller Kingdom, man.
I guess so. My Lord.
Welcome to Stop Wasting Your Wine, a wine review podcast where we waste our wine so you don't have to. On this episode, we review
a red wine from Chile.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Aaron here at the Stop Wasting Your Wine podcast. So excited in this new year, 2024, baby. And I'm sitting here with two of the sunniest dispositions in my life, Colin and Joel. How are you guys?
That's really, really nice. I feel
bright and shiny.
You're bright and shiny. That's right. And I feel like just by you saying that, I've perked up, become sunnier myself. I'm ready to talk about some wine.
I also do. I feel like our energy has been like getting up and up and up in the last few episodes. We went through some. I feel like we had a few episodes where we had new babies and we had cold weather and we had all sorts of stuff that was kind of like
sleepy,
making our sleepy factors pretty high. Now I feel like we got some energy today, some good vibes, some
little pep back in our step.
Yeah.
Pep back in the step. I like that.
Yeah. No, I think that's true. I think we're back in it. It's funny what hour and a half blocks of sleep separated by 30 minutes of having to be up and like care for something really affect you in your day to day, isn't it?
It is incredible what just the energy newborns suck out of you. It takes a lot.
And then even like the smallest thing when you're in that mode, it's like, I am never going to recover from this. And then you actually get a couple of hours of sleep and you're like, oh, no. Okay, we're good.
100%. It does seem like the world is ending every day just because like the dishes are piling up and you're like, I'm just going to switch to paper plates because I can't do it anymore. Yeah. But then now it's like, it's all fine. Everything's fine.
I really feel like, there's two generations above us that used to have kids when they were like 23, 24 years old. And like some folks still do, but a lot of our generation's like, no, I'm going to live my life for a while and I'm going to start having kids in my early to mid 30s, which sounds great, but no one explained to me earlier that as you get older, you get more tired. And as you have kids, you get more tired. And the longer you wait to have kids, the more that compounds.
Yes.
100.
So it's like
Yeah.
not saying I would have gone back in time and started my family a decade earlier, but man, like it is. There's a
Yeah.
little tired factor there that I didn't think about.
Well, there's tired, and I wish somebody would have pointed out that my bones would start cracking more, and that's really important when you're putting a baby down to sleep, and then you try to do like the light like cat walk out of the
Yep.
room, but like your ankle and your knee is cracking, just waking up the baby. That's the worst.
You're now just like walking bubble wrap. You're just like,
God, it's so relatable. It is so
You
relatable.
living that life, Colin?
Oh my God, dude. It's like it's and it's even like worse for the older one, because we used to have, he's been sleeping pretty good now, but sneaking out of his room, when I would try to get up, it would just be like, and he'd be like, eh. I was like, why?
who is a skeletal man?
It's so true. And then I'm like, am I not getting enough biotin in my life? Like, what is this?
Should I be drinking milk? Yeah, it's
Fantastic. Let's move forward.
Let's drink some wine.
Let's introduce alcohol to our bodies, which everyone says helps. So with that being said, we did not talk about this ahead of time. Joel, Colin, which one of you would like to tell us about the wine today?
I'd be happy to tell you about the wine today, Aaron. Today we are drinking the Carmen Gran Reserva Merlot. So this is a Chilean Merlot from the Alto Maipo Valley. 13.5% alcohol, and we picked this up for about $17. Actually, Colin and I got a great deal on a 2 for $30 deal on this bottle of wine. So saved a couple of buckaroonies, and this is the 2021.
And this, I'm actually kind of excited about this. There are a lot of fun words on the label that might hint towards the quality of the wine. Of course, nothing is ever 100% in wine, but it says single vineyard, which not always necessarily a guarantee in quality, but at least all the grapes are coming from one place, and that the wine can sort of have a sense of self. It's from a very
which is important with this generation.
Absolutely.
Self-doubting wines are just, yeah.
Well, actually, what I meant to say is a sense of place. So self doesn't even make sense. I'm gonna
No, leave it. It's pretentious and wonderful. Keep going.
And then it's from a very specific region, which is good. As I've said before, the more specificity you get with where the wine is from, the better. So this could be a good one, and a nice Merlot at 13.5%. It's not a big wine. This could be, I'm hoping it's a good one.
Agreed. Should we call out too for the listener at home the little sticker we got on here? I think it's only fair. We mentioned it when we were drinking the white Bordeaux 2 weeks ago.
100%.
But again,
well, Aaron, you want to tell us?
Yeah, Aaron, you want to talk about it?
Sure. Because you know what, mine didn't even have the sticker. And when I grabbed it, what is your sticker?
Oh, you don't know? Okay,
Joel.
So here's two things. Number one, let me tell you what we're talking about here, folks, is this has another James Suckling 90-point metal gold sticker on here. So I think the white Bordeaux that we had 2 weeks ago was a 91 pointer. So this is a 90 pointer from Mr. Suckling. So we'll see.
Last week's Viv was 92, I believe.
Let me also ask this question. So if our bottles of wine have this little sticker on there and Aaron's doesn't, that suggests to me that this doesn't come from the producer with the little bottle of wine. So is somebody at Total Wine or wherever just going around and putting these little stickers on things? Like what?
What a job, man.
That's a really interesting point. Really interesting.
And also, do you just stick them on what you want to sell that week?
Do you know what? We're going to have to look it up. We're going to have to see if the 2021 Carmen Merlot Gran Reserva got 90 points from James Suckling.
That's the research part. So, because the reason I picked this wine, there were a few reasons. We have not done a Merlot yet, so I wanted us to try a new wine. Second, it, sitting at, I think it was $17.99, and there was the 2 for 30 deal, but it sits around $17.99 usual. So, looking for like that same price range, solid wine. And it had pretty decent reviews. I've never had this one before. I have no preconceived understanding of it. Although, Colin, I think you mentioned in passing in previous conversations that the Carmen producer is one that Total Wine seems to be, putting up front quite a bit right now.
I don't know if it's like one of their preferred brands or whatever, but they always are advertising this brand. You know, I'm not sure the relationship. Like, I was in the store today and I saw the Cab might have come in like the second most popular wine or something like that of the last year. So, you know, they oftentimes will pump this brand up.
No, in fact, it's funny you say that. Erin was at Total Wine today picking up some stuff for her coworkers, and I texted her. I said, hey, remember, you know, we had talked about whenever being a Total Wine, just like grabbing like a random extra bottle so we can start building our collection a little bit. And she's like, okay, I'm just going to grab like the closest $17, $18 bottle of wine to me. I'm in the front of the store right now. And she came home with the Carmen, I think it's like the Cabernet.
Yep.
She had no idea that we were reviewing this tonight. So it's just, you're right. Like it's up front, it's out there. Yep. So hopefully they're pushing it because they're a great producer, but we shall see today. So it's a Merlot. We've never had that before. That's why I picked it.
Breaking news, if I may interject, just received a note from the research department. They came back and it looks like on the Total Wine website here, there is not a note saying that this is a James Suckling reviewed or a 90-point wine at all.
But when you look at the 2020 vintage on Total Wine, it does say it's James Suckling 90 point. So it appears that you two may have mislabeled wines, and maybe this is not a James Suckling. I'm assuming James Suckling listens to this podcast, so if you can just DM us after this episode and just tell us, you know, what you meant, if this is a 90 point or not. Just
please, James, him and I are first name basis. You know, give me a call. You have my number. Let's clear this up.
I am going to tag him in every time I post anything about this episode. So
please,
maybe he's a great guy. Maybe he wants to play along.
Maybe
that would be fun.
All right, so what we have here is we have a 2021 Merlot that probably not a James Suckling 90 pointer, but you know that doesn't mean it's not going to be a good wine. So before we find out, we're going to do something a little bit different when we learn something today.
This is the only thing you will learn.
Colin, can you share with the listener, what are we going to do differently today?
Yeah, sure. So recently we've had some episodes with some big opinions, I would say, on where we're placing these wines. And I don't think we've ever really talked about the process that each of us go through to get to the final placement. So, you know, what are we thinking in our heads as we're tasting the wine and assessing the wine?
Big opinions, big tears, hurt feelings, skin knees. It's been a rough few weeks here on Stop Wasting Your Wine.
No, it's all in good fun, right? It's not like it's just wine. We didn't make the wine, but you know, we are reviewing it.
Ooh, that's a good t-shirt right there. It's just wine.
It's
just wine.
We didn't make the wine.
We just make the wine. We just drink it. That's right. So I thought it would be kind of interesting, instead of learning about wine, we just kind of dove into our heads a little bit and learned about how we assess wine and how we end up getting to the place where we put the wine and our final thoughts on the wine. So I'm going to kick it off just to give you guys an idea of what goes through my mind.
You can be honest with the listeners at home. We're starting with the most educated version, and then we're going to work our way through.
Yeah, but also, like, I think the wine education only helps in the fact that I'm able to kind of put things into buckets more easily.
You're not supposed to drink wine out of buckets. You're supposed to drink wine out of a wine glass.
You know, maybe Aaron should be running this podcast, because that's like wine 101.
That's true. You know, I need to go back and look at my notes because I've been drinking wine out of buckets this whole time. But but I think it only helps me it gives me some extra terms and stuff that you guys may not have. So I kind of, speaking of my education, I loosely follow the WSET rubric on assessing a wine. So when I'm sniffing and smelling and tasting, I'm first looking for the flavors in the wine, of course, and how intense they are. So flavors, are they good flavors? How many flavors are there? You know, the primary, the secondary, the tertiary flavors, which we've talked about in a previous episode. I'll put which episode that is in the show notes. So if you want to jump back into that episode and learn more about the WSET rubric, that'd be a good review there. So I'm looking for the flavors, you know, just to kind of get the flavor profile and what the wine's bringing to the table in that aspect. And then I move on to the structural components of the wine. I'm also trying to put how they all work together. What's important to me is the quality more so than how much I like it. I try to be as objective I can be when it comes to quality, because are absolutely situations where I might not like a wine, but I could see somebody else liking the wine. So I try to be objective in that regard. And then I also try to think about value. What I mean by value is how the wine comes together, both the flavors and structural components. And I do toss enjoyment into that and compare that to the price. And that's a huge part of how I place my wines at the end of the day, because you can have an okay wine that's very expensive and you can have a great wine that's inexpensive.
Flavor, structure, quality, value.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect.
Joel?
Okay, so I would say that probably the way that I approach it is heavily influenced by us doing this for the last, half a year at this point. That combined with how I would just drink it sitting down at a restaurant, trying something new at a restaurant. So I think kind of similar to what you look for, because I've learned from you, Colin, but I think when I first take a sip of a new wine, my immediate thing that I'm looking for is, am I enjoying this? Do I like what I just took a sip of?
Do they like it?
Did he like it? So that's the first question that I typically ask. But then, I think where my brain goes immediately after trying that is I try to then start benchmarking it to other things that we've tried, for better or worse. It's probably not what I should be doing at that point. That's where I start to tend to go. And then that kind of leads me into thinking, about the structural components a little bit more and trying to pick things out. But again, like the whole time in my head, I'm thinking, oh, this is pretty acidic, but, not as acidic as this thing that we tried, or, it kind of reminds me of this, or it doesn't. And I kind of start trying to think of where I put something that it reminds me of and how what I'm drinking in that moment compares. I should say too, probably before that, even before I get to the structural components, I try to pick out, just like the flavors that I'm getting in there. Try to pinpoint some of those. I've learned that I think there's like another level of detail almost in that I could go to. I think looking back, like I'm getting better again through this at picking out the sort of the pun intended, the low hanging fruit on some of them.
Hey,
thank you very much. Hey, appreciate that. But then I think there's like another level I could probably get into here. But that's how I go about it. Very much for some reason, I'm always trying to compare things to other things in my head. And I do that a little bit by trying to break down the same things that you do, Colin. I feel like you have like the spreadsheet in your head and you go through it step by step by step. I sort of roundabout get to some of the analysis that you do, but in a way where I'm constantly just comparing it to what I like and other things that I've had. And like you said too, something that's always on my mind is I'm trying to be as objective as possible. But I think that's a little hard just with given the subject we're all talking about. But I do try to bring that into it as well. And there's clear-cut things, I think, that will stick out to be like immediately, oh, this, I don't like this wine, or this is a bad quality wine. We talked about like that fakey flavor, and when people try to do fake oak stuff and all that, those are good examples. So keeping an eye out for those, but just, otherwise seeing where things kind of align with other things I've tried.
Aaron?
Thank you for saving me for last, as I do have the most refined taste and expert level understanding of wine. Joel started off saying, do I like it? And I think for me, like, that's how I entered this podcast, right? It's just like, do I like this? Is this something that I enjoy drinking? And to be honest, that's still a huge part for me. I'm not trained. I don't have the best palate, like, as everyone has noticed who's listened to this, like, picking out those minutiae and flavors and smells, like, it's just not something I figured out yet. Where I'm really seeing the value for me, though, is being able to figure out what I do like so that I can find other versions of that, which I think is the thing that I am really starting to think about. Before we started doing this podcast, wine for me was just very much like, is it wet? Does it have alcohol? Will I drink it? Will I be a dummy for ordering this at a restaurant? And that's pretty much it. And outside that, I was completely wine illiterate. I think the biggest selling point for me in what we're doing right now, for my own personal growth, to keep pushing me to keep digging into this, is when I'm drinking a wine, being able to identify the parts that I like, the parts that I don't like, the parts that I can then find in other places, in other wines, at different price points. And then it's less about, do I like this? Is it passable? And more about, like, is this my preference? Is this what I'm looking for? is this the kind of thing I want to share with other people? So my personal assessment is now sitting more in that place. I'm not, running through a rubric in my brain yet. I'm just not there. I don't have the skill set to break down the flavors the way you two do. But I think maybe the reason structure kind of popped out to me early on is like, those are the things I can really categorize in my head of, identify this feels like a very heavy alcohol wine, or how, the tannins, how grippy it feels, or how, full bodied it is. And those are the kind of things I'm figuring out in my brain. Now that you know how we think about wine, let's try it out and let's talk about today's wine.
Tastes like wine.
All right, so as we mentioned, we have the 2021 Gran Reserva Merlot from Carmen. Let's start right off, gentlemen. How are you experiencing this wine on the nose? Joel, why don't you start us off?
It's changed quite a bit since we opened it.
So let's talk about that. Let's be fully transparent. So we, especially when we're drinking a red, we try to open our bottles at the beginning of the pod so it has time to air out. And we opened this guy, about an hour ago, and we stuck our noses in it, and we had an experience.
Well,
yeah. So there is something, Joel, Colin, let's talk about this. There is something funky about the smell of this wine. Joel, tell us what you experienced.
and I think I do think it's cooled off a little bit. I think it's calmed down a little. And I'll tell you what I'm getting first, and then I'll sort of explain the weird, I think maybe a little hitch in here that we're all picking up on. You guys can let me know. But off the bat, lots of like dark fruit, like a little plum, but like a little bit more of a cranberry. Like I don't even know. Hold on, I think I need to think about this for a second.
But also I agree, but I want us to name, like, when we first opened this, and like I agree. I'm like, right now I'm like swirling and smelling, and I'm smelling plum and I'm smelling blackberry, and that's there. When we opened this, there was this overarching smell that was offensive.
And it's still there, but a little bit less. And I think what the smell reminded me of a little bit, and I'm not, I also want to say, because I don't want people to equate this to the wine, it's just the only way I can think to kind of explain the little bit of a smell that's here. And it's kind of like a chemically, as weird as it sounds, like a little bit like a toilet cleaner, kind of like the waft that you get when there's toilet cleaner in there and you're, walking by, like that aspect. You guys getting anything? Does that sort of resemble what we're smelling here?
No, it makes a lot of sense. And I think it's like a fake mint. But then they also like tried to throw some vanilla in there, like,
I don't know. It was, I'm having a physical, like, when I took like a really big inhale, when I like stuck my nose in there, I actually gagged at one point. It has this very physical, really gets up in there, and it's very medicinal. I think when we were chatting before the show, Colin, you said eucalyptus at some point. Like, it has like this really heavy, aggressive, and Joel said it's cooled down a lot since we started airing it out. It's definitely still there, but at the beginning, I was worried about drinking this.
But it's really hard to get past it. I'm having a hard time picking up on anything else because it's still such a prevalent smell, and it's so off-putting. Like, I honestly don't even want to try to find other flavors, because it hits you right up front. And then, it's just, I don't want to keep smelling it. There might, like, I don't disagree about plum. You get like some weird vanilla in there.
Yeah.
It's just,
you've made this experience worse for me, Colin, because now I have this habit of constantly smelling and swirling the wine as I'm sipping it, and I don't want to do that right now. I'm just like, I just want to drink this wine. I don't want to smell it anymore because I know this scent is there. It's like when something's gone wrong and you keep looking at it and you know it's so bad, and you just keep looking over at the car accident. You're like, oh, it's still there. Oh God, my finger's still broken. Like, just like you keep.
I feel like we're getting down on this wine before we've even tasted it. So I just want to interject and say, let's keep an open mind as we try.
It just smells so bad.
It's definitely, there's something there. Yeah.
So let's get past the smell. The smell is weird. And, sometimes wines taste a lot better than they smell. So let's give it a taste. Joel, you want to start us off with the taste?
Okay. So I do think that this is one of those ones where it does taste better than it smells. I do think that's accurate.
Not by much, though.
Well, I was going to say, though, I'm trying to think through the structural components, it's kind of coming and going so quickly that it's hard to do so.
100.
What you get is, I think, medium plusy acidity here, but weirdly also really low, like a body. Not a lot of body here to carry anything through.
Ultra thin.
Yeah, I think I am still getting some of the fruit notes that we called out. Still standing behind like the red fruit situation, but yeah, what do you guys think?
I mean, like Colin was saying about the smell was so heavy that he couldn't pull anything else out. I'm like literally, I'm trying not to breathe while I am tasting this. I'm getting like a lot of the stuff that we normally get when we try like a deep red. Like there's plum, there's like blackberry and stuff, but like I don't know, it just has a weird funk to it.
And funk too. I wanted to say funk, but I held back because I like funky wines. And if you do like a funk,
Agreed.
It can be really cool. This isn't even funky to me.
No, it's
Colin, what is this?
everything is just so unpleasant. And like you take the sip, it's hard, like Aaron said, it's hard to even take a drink because whatever that awful smell is just hits you in the face the entire time. And then, as I mentioned, the rubric in my head, flavors that are there aren't that good. There aren't that many of them. You do get a little bit of fruit. The tannin is actually kind of nice. That I think is the one saving grace in this wine. Like the tannin's pretty nice. It's not too grippy. I agree with Joel. Everything just kind of hits and then goes away really quick. And then it turns into like water and a not very good aftertaste. There's almost no complexity. It's not very good. And it's really hard to drink.
So, I mean, I think we've said all the things. Let's start off. Colin, where are you putting this guy?
Yeah, but did they like it? It's time for the review.
I'll say this, it kind of shoots many holes in my theory about the label, right? It just goes to show, I think, that even though there are some exciting terms on the label, they don't always exactly equate to quality. So this wine isn't good. It's not that interesting flavor-wise, as we've said multiple times. The smell is incredibly off-putting. Drinking it isn't very nice. So, and the tannin is the only nice thing I have to say about this wine. So I'm putting this straight down the drain.
I don't disagree with anything that we've said here. I'm not offended at all, and I'm not excited or happy about it at all either. And to me, when I'm putting something down the drain, it's like something is bad about this. Like I can point to something here and very clearly say this is bad. Overall, the smell is not that great. Overall, like everything wrapped up is not doing it for me. That's for sure. I don't know. I might be putting this in the very back of my closet just because it doesn't anger me in any way, but I don't like it at all. So I might put it back there and forget about it for a very long time. It's an absolute waste of your wine. I will say that. But
would you recommend it to somebody?
No, I would not.
If somebody's like, I need a Merlot.
No.
Would you buy it again?
No, I would not buy it again either. Nope. That's why I'm saying it's a waste of your wine. Do you guys think that my scale is bad? Do you think that I'm being too nice?
What is in your closet? There's just dead bodies and wine.
It's getting packed in there. It's getting packed.
You're just a nice guy. You're just like, I just don't want to put any wine down the. Well, all the wine, just come to my closet.
Well,
like this is where you can be safe.
What's in the back of my mind too, though, is I feel like maybe there's somebody that would like this.
And I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna keep it short. I just don't like it. To be honest with you, just like without a rubric, like everything we talked about, without going down the stuff, like just there's something about it, and for me, maybe it's just the smell. Like I wouldn't feel comfortable handing a glass of wine to this someone, especially if like there's a chance that person's first instinct is to stick their nose in it and give it a big whiff. Whatever that smell is, truly just was upsetting. And honestly, like I gagged one time just bringing too much, and it wasn't like me being over dramatic. There's just something about the strength of the aroma itself had that kind of physical reaction. So I'm draining this, not because the flavor itself is so bad once it's aired out for an hour and a half, but because like that smell is so offensive, and at $18, like I could never see myself buying this again. I couldn't see myself giving it to other people. I couldn't see myself talking about it. It's just not something I would do to myself again.
I agree with all of that.
So, with that being said, in Joel's closet, in the sewer systems below my house and Colin's house, a super fast whip around. I'm going to say this is a waste of your wine.
Yes,
Colin?
completely. Oh,
Yes.
And
Yes.
Joel?
yes.
Yeah, so whether or not like someone gives it to you, and whether or not you want to keep it in your closet for a rainy day or chuck it out the window, up to you. But from a purchasing decision, this would be a waste of your wine. Whether you get 2 for $30 and then you have twice as many problems, or $18 for one. If you like it, you like it. But our recommendation is don't do this to yourself.
Yep.
That was a bummer episode, bummer experience. I was really looking forward to it. We are still in the search of a Merlot that we recommend.
Yes.
So if you have a Merlot that you love, let us know. Reach out. I will put it on the Instagram and send it our way, because we would love to find one. With that being said, what a wonderful segue I just set up for Colin to talk about our social media and ways you can connect with us.
All right. So as of this recording, we had 2 more people join the Facebook group. So we're at 11. Pow.
Whoa, baby!
Yep.
We're on the
Yep.
big time.
So Aaron and
I
I
know.
finally joined the Facebook group.
No, I didn't.
No, neither of you did. I don't think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. My Instagram army of 1,035. You know, we'll meet
Whatever.
up with the Facebook crew. I
I'm not impressed. No, I am actually very impressed. Aaron's doing a great job over on Instagram.
boom boom.
So go check us out on Instagram. We are on the website.
All right, so you can find us on Facebook. You can find us at stopwastingyourwine.com. You can follow us at stopwastingyourwine on Instagram. We're also present on YouTube now. You can catch all of our episodes on YouTube full, and we're putting up video shorts so you can look at our beautiful faces if you really want to do that to yourself. Anything else I forgot, guys?
I think you nailed it, buddy. StopWastingYourWine.com.
Awesome. StopWastingYourWine.com. Thank you all so much. We're having a blast. Happy New Year 2024.
Great new year, baby.
It's just going to be a great year. It's
We'll
going to
get
be a
it.
great year. Great year. New year, new wines, new us, new you. We'll see you next.
And remember, stop wasting your wine.
Bye.